What is going on, guys? This is your boy XQ420. I'm welcome everybody back. Another episode, Showtime with the Cube. I have got the resident movie aficionado, TV series aficionado with me for this particular series we're going to be doing, Mr. Ryder Lee. Mr. Ryder Lee, how you doing today?
What's up, XCube? Happy to be here, ready to talk some movies. I've been waiting all week for this.
There we go. It's going to be a TV series, guys. We're going to be going over The Last of Us. Now, I know what you're wondering. Where's the powerful at? Where's Corey the Powerful? Well, he decided to let us take the reins on this one, me and Mr. Ryder Lee, and ride off into the sunset with this. So we appreciate everybody who's been looking at us, listening to us so far. Y'all have heard Ryder on a few of our trailer reviews that we did right here recently. We also did a DC EU roundup, the shambles that is that particular organization currently. So if you haven't checked those out, go check those out. Right now or later on, you know what I'm saying? Let it run in the background. We appreciate all the listens. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you listen to us on podcast platforms. So as we said earlier today, we're looking at The Last of Us, new series, HBO Max. And if people don't know, The Last of Us was actually a video game. The initial video game was made in 2013, and they had a follow-up in 2020, Last of Us Part 2. Okay, so this is we say this is one of the a highly rated game, if I'm correct. The first game, 9.7 out of 10. That's an IMDb rating of the first game, and then the second game, 8.6 out of 10. Not quite as much, but usually the original is always best. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
In the way it usually is.
Absolutely. I never played the games. I didn't play because I'm not a PlayStation guy. I was more of an Xbox guy, and it was a PlayStation exclusive. But I did watch a lot of the cutscenes because that's why people were really into the game about was the cutscenes, because the cutscenes were awesome. It was a really cool storyline, and that's why I was like excited to, watch this show on HBO. I was like, holy shit, this is going to be good. And HBO making a show, right? You know that it has to be a banger. Like normally, it's a banger.
HBO is usually the best company as far as making TV series.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've seen. What do you think about that, Ryder? Of course, we got Starz, we've got Showtime. Netflix has thrown his name in the hat. I think Netflix is maybe too saturated. I think they may be oversaturated.
Netflix has got way too much going on now. As far as production value, absolutely. HBO has the slickest, smoothest production, film quality that you can possibly get out of a show. So whenever it comes to like really good, I know that I can turn on HBO and just randomly pick something. Now, if it's not interesting to me, then obviously I'm not going to watch it. But if it's interesting and HBO is making it, then I'm definitely going to, watch it. They had The Sopranos on there. They had The Wire. All these amazing
Game of Thrones, House of Dragons. Yeah. What else we got? Boardwalk Empire was good. True Blood. I loved True Blood back in the day. I thought there was once it got towards the end, but I think that's about every TV series. People run out of real estate and they get at the end. They're like, "Man, hurry up and wrap this shit up, okay?"
Let's just throw some stuff on the wall really quick.
Yeah, but you just be sitting there and you're like, "Man, what am I looking at? Okay, what am I looking at now?" So that does tend to happen sometimes when you get later on. But they've had a whole lot. First season of Westworld, that was a banger. Which mysteriously they're taking off Westworld off of HBO Max completely. I was like, that's what I heard. I was like,
it's not on there anymore?
They said they were going to take it off. That's what I heard, some rumblings. I was like, that's y'all's product, right? I was like,
yeah, they made that.
yeah. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. Now, I've been hearing a whole lot of, actually, I haven't been hearing. I've been seeing, especially via TikTok, a whole lot of the scenes that are in these particular episodes, and they're comparing them to the scenes in the video games, and they're almost one for one. So that always bodes well as far as your fan base, as far as staying pretty close to the source material. What do you think about that right out the gate?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you have to kind of, when you're making any series or you're making a movie out of a video game, like you have to pander to that audience in some form or another. And I think that that's the reason why a lot of video game based movies or video game based TV shows like that I haven't watched it, but I've heard nothing but bad things about the Resident Evil TV show on Netflix. I heard it's just like god awful, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the video game. See, video game movies and TV shows has not had a good track record at all.
Right.
They've all always been garbage. Now, I do have a little hope for this new Mario movie that's coming out, this animated Mario movie.
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched the trailer for it? We need to review the trailer for that, because that actually looks really freaking good.
I've seen I think I've seen the teaser trailer. I haven't seen the full trailer. I think I've seen the teaser.
But when you're looking at the history of the TV video game movies or anything like that, it's not a good track record. So I think that The Last of Us is attempting to kind of renew the video game TV show or the video game movie industry and bring it onto a good level. Another one that people were kind of it was kind of half and half on, which was the World of Warcraft movie. That one that kind of teetered in the middle. Some of the fans really liked it. Some of the fans didn't like it. It was kind of like an open the air thing.
Yeah. I was actually looking forward to more of the World of Warcraft. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, the king. I mean, you had the lady at the end who ended up slaying the king. So God, were they orcs? Are they orcs in World of Warcraft?
Spoilers for World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My bad. Hey, look, if you're listening to Showtime with the Cube, look, all I do is spoilers. Okay, so I'm not even putting a warning up. Come on, guys, we got to get serious. If y'all been listening and you don't know that there's spoilers right now, then I mean that's just it. That's just it. Yeah, but I was looking forward to more of that particular movie, and they made that, and then it just kind of faded out. I was like, y'all gonna make another one? Maybe they do like Avatar. Maybe they just need a hiatus. Like 15, 20 years.
15, 7-8 years in between the next movie. But World of Warcraft wasn't bad. I thought that it was, which I didn't play any World of Warcraft video games, so I wasn't, invested in the lore or the property of World of Warcraft. I could just watch it as its own separate entity, separate from the game, which is kind of what I'm doing with The Last of Us too, though I have seen some of the cutscenes as well. So What
question here. Before we start diving into the plot line, how do you feel? Because of course they are staying very close to the actual source material. How do you feel the fans, as far as the ones who have already experienced the Last of Us video game? Do you feel like maybe they'll be satisfied with seeing almost the same rendition? Now, of course, the whole game's not cutscenes, but a whole lot of your major points during the film, from what I've seen from the cutscenes that people have played, because they did a cutscene from the video game and then the scene from the movie, and they've almost been one for one. Do you feel that people will kind of lose interest over time, and you think this is such of a cult favorite, a fan favorite, that people will they'll latch on to this because it'll give them a little bit more, maybe even a little bit more backstory on the characters? What do you think?
Well, that's the whole problem with video game-based movies or TV shows, or even movies or TV shows that are based off of books, right? You can't have it both ways here, X Cubed. You can't have it exactly like the book and complain about it being exactly like the book, or it not be like the book and different from the book and then complain that it's not like the book, right? They kind of want their cake and they want to eat it too. So which way would you rather have it? Would you rather have a new story with different characters, which not different characters, but switch up the story from its original base material, which we've seen is proven not to work? People get more pissed off at that than if they were to just follow along with the already established storyline that was previously there. So I think that they are A-okay with basically just copying the source material from the video game and kind of just going in line with that. I mean, we've seen how David Benioff and Weiss, they completely wrecked Game of Thrones in that last season because they didn't
Right.
have the background story from George R. R. Martin because he hasn't written that freaking book yet.
Never read it. Yeah.
So they have all they have all the information and all the things that they can pull from the video game. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at some point that they would make some kind of alterations. Now, I don't think
they said they made some as far as I think with the actual infection part.
Yeah.
They said they're going to take a little bit of liberties there, but from because what's been great about these episodes is that afterwards they've had director's cuts, so you've been able to hear from the director afterwards and what their thought process is and all of that. So I think that's going to work to their advantage to stay close to the source material. Of course, the entirety of the game is not cutscenes. So you are actually able to put some nuance within that as far as more character development. And speaking of the characters, what do you think about the casting of Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie? They seem pretty accurate to the video game as far as what I've been seeing, as far as even the character model themselves. What do you think about that?
I really like Pedro Pascal as an actor. He's in a lot of things right now. He's the Mandalorian, which is a very, very easy role for him to be in there. You only see his face for a couple of minutes in the last season, the ending of the first season. I really like his character. I like him as an actor. I think he brings a lot of range. He plays that really tough guy that's kind of been broken, which is what he's very sarcastic, and I like that as well. And I actually really like Bella Ramsey too. And I'm just completely looking over all the agenda with that. Like, I don't really, care like that. Whatever
she's talking about, she's gender neutral.
Yeah, gender fluid, neutral, whatever. It doesn't matter. I think it serves the character in the show, right? When something serves the character in the show, it's okay to do. But whenever you're just throwing bullshit propaganda stuff in there, which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, because they referred to her as a girl. They didn't try to do it or anything. And then they referred to her as like being attracted to boys. You know what I'm saying? So,
exactly.
So it's just like, okay, so we're not going to go down the road and be pushing this particular agenda, which is great. Yeah. Folks just want to watch something that's very entertaining, a good storyline, and some suspense. Okay, some suspense, some drama. Okay,
absolutely. And also another thing is too, it was whenever I was watching it, when I first put it on, I didn't even realize that it was coming out. I was just scrolling through my HBO app, and then I seen that they had done the premiere of it, the first episode, and then I clicked on it, and I was like, heck yeah. And I started watching it, and I recognized her. I recognized Bella Ramsey, and she's actually in Game of Thrones. She's one of the Lords of the North.
Okay.
One of her, she was like the sarcastic girl on Game of Thrones. She wasn't in very many episodes. She was just kind of there whenever, they were gathering and doing their council kinds of stuff. And I like her and Pedro Pascal's back and forth, right? Because they're super sarcastic two individuals that's kind of been toughened up by this whole scenario. I mean, she's kind of playing a tougher character than I think what she is, but it's a good back and forth between her and him, and I really enjoy the chemistry of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they made the decisions there was good across the board from what I've been seeing from the cutscenes people have been posting compared to what we have up here. They almost have similar movements and everything. It seems like Pedro and Bella might have actually studied these particular characters, which is always great if you're studying the source material, so you can bring that to camera even better. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the first episode. Which the name of it is When You're Lost in the Darkness. So this gives us an opening scene as far as Pedro, which is Joel, and his brother, and his name, godly, it has escaped me.
Tommy.
Tommy. Yeah, Tommy. Yeah, Tommy. And then you see Glenn. You see an initial look at his actual daughter. And her name is Sarah. So you see them as a struggling family. Okay, not a lot of money. Sarah actually takes and gets a watch fixed for her father for his birthday. $20.
That she stole from him.
Yeah, that she stole. Yeah, that she stole from him. So you see this family is struggling. Okay, so that gives you an initial process of Pedro and how he's already been through one initial struggle in his life, the loss of his wife. Now he's a single dad, trying to support his daughter. Working long hours. So you already see that this initial character has been toughened up by time, by things that has already happened in his life, which would give us an indication that he would be prepared for situations like this. What do you think about the opening scenes, the back and forth between him and his daughter? What do you think about that?
I think that was very interesting because, again, like I knew what was going to happen because I knew a little bit about the video game, so that didn't really surprise me. But I liked it for the fact that I don't think that the people that were watching it that weren't aware, like the events that were going to play out, right? Because they had his daughter on the cover, on the poster of the thumbnail of the show and everything, and it makes you believe that the show is going to be centered around him and his daughter. But I really like the opening, the feel of that. See, I'm a sucker for end of the world type scenario movies, right? Where everything is chaotic and chaos and things are crazy. That's what really got me hooked into the first season of The Walking Dead. I thought that first season was spectacular, right? Whenever Rick's, going through Atlanta and everything's just complete disaster and he's trying to figure things out and where to go, if there's any people alive, or if there's any groups of people going on. So I really like that angle that they took, the atmosphere of that and the filming of that and the production value of really bringing that all together. I wish they could have stayed in that scenario for just a little bit longer, because I was immediately hooked in. If they could have just struggled for just a little bit longer and before the event happens that we're going to get into, I wish they would have just stayed there for just maybe 10 more minutes, right? To really
so you want a little bit more.
I wanted to hammer in that whole thing of the world coming to an end, right? Because it's not very long after the event happens with his daughter. The very next scene is like them all hunkered up and bunkered up in this quarantined area around the city, right? I just wanted a little bit more time in there with the end of the world destruction and everything going crazy.
And I think that's how they're going to do the process of these episodes. They're going to give you a taste of before the event, and then they're going to go back to current times. I think that's how they're going to do it, because we still technically don't know what caused the initial outbreak. Now, this episode actually started out with a doctor speaking, and they were talking about what's the existential threat to humans. It's like, well, it's not virus or anything; it's fungi, it's fungus. But fungus can't grow in humans. You know what I'm saying? It can't grow, but there's no cure for it. There's no way to cure it. Now, this is a very different take on zombie apocalypse, a fungal infection. I don't think I've seen that in anything else. And the way they have the thing networked, where if you touch a spore in one location, it'll wake them up in another location.
Yes.
That's very interesting. How did you feel about the way they went about the approach of how they did the zombies in this particular film?
I really liked it because it was familiar, but yet a little bit different, like you're talking about. I don't think that there has specifically, because there's been a shit ton of zombie movies. They've done almost everything, but I don't believe people.
All of them's been about the same. All of them's been about close to the same, close to similar.
Yeah, and I really don't think that there's been a specific form of a zombie virus that is mutated from a fungal. Right. So yes, that is very interesting, and I like the route that they took with that, because again, it's familiar. Yes, we have zombies in this show. There's going to be wild and crazy zombies, and I also like how fast the zombies are and how like crazy they like move and operate. You know, they're like kind of
Mm-hmm.
look like they're schizophrenic. They're schizophrenic,
Mm-hmm.
crazy fungal zombies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and then you get a little bit more information in the second uh,
Yeah.
episode
Yeah.
about how this kind of happened in it wasn't Japan, well, we'll get into that in the
Well, yeah,
second
yeah, yeah,
episode.
yeah. So yeah, we're getting that in the second episode. So of course we seen the initial stages, the dynamic between Joel and his daughter Sarah, and of course they go out to work, come back, and this is when the events have taken place. Now, it really didn't give you any indication on how it initially happened, but it seemed to be happening to the grandma before that night, because as Sarah was walking by her, like you seen her mouth gape open and like she moved weird, and I was like,
Mm.
"Is she about to jump out of that chair right now?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it gave you suspense. So I think what this has done so far is definitely be building suspense. Anytime they're going anywhere, you're like tensed up. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah.
ready for something. You're like when they're
Yeah.
walking in water, you're like, "Is something gonna jump out?" Like you're just ready. Um,
Yeah, the
so,
only thing that's kind of interesting to me too is like we haven't really discovered yet if it can be if you have to be bitten to get the virus or if
mhm.
it's just being around somebody that has the virus that it can transmit
Yeah, because
onto.
technically spores in the air. So I don't
Yeah,
I don't know exact because the actual fungus can grow along walls and everything, and we know if we're talking about plants, things of that nature, they got spores in the air.
yeah,
From what it seems like so far, it seems like that doesn't have an effect. You have to be in a direct contact as far as a bite. That's from what we've seen so far.
yeah.
But something like that, it may change potentially. But of course, when they get back, Joel immediately kills the grandma. She comes outside with a wrench, and Sarah's like stunned,
Yeah.
And I think this becomes like a dynamic between the way Sarah is and the way Bella is later on.
Yeah.
As far as because this is going to end up being Joel's like his like second daughter, like his
Yeah.
second chance, as their relationship builds along this way. Now, as they're trying to escape, of course, as usual, the military is usually involved, and we know in situations like this, when the military is involved, what's the orders? Kill everything in sight.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, Sarah gets shot, and so Joel goes through that traumatic moment. Tommy, his brother, actually saves him from being shot. Otherwise, Joel would have been dead that day as well. And that's where them two. Well, we don't see the events past that, but we know they part ways. And it seems like they're going to end up being enemies. Something has happened between them. So I think we're going to see that dynamic later on in this particular season. But at that moment, when Joel lost Sarah, he pretty much lost everything. And we see the effects of that battered, bruised, broken man later on as they move on into the city. It's 20 years later, if I'm correct. Isn't that right? Isn't that what they're
I
doing?
believe
20 years
so.
later?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty far along, and yeah, you see that he's become even more battered of a human. He's working for a very low wage, doing laboring jobs. He's throwing bodies into the fire pit to destroy them. He's selling drugs. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a really battered man by this point. Even
Yeah.
more battered
Mhm.
than he already was, which just adds depth to his character, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, he's became cold.
Yeah.
It's like when because one of your initial scenes when they're at that city, right outside of Boston, you see the child walking up to the gates. They allow the child in, and then they pretty much execute the child. They put it to sleep, and then there's a woman who comes up and is like, "Man, I can't throw that child on the fire." Joel immediately picks. I don't know if it was a he or she, but picks the person up and throws him right in the fire. It's like
Yeah.
so that just shows you like he's became that cold where it's just like no, it's just another one I dump in the fire. You know what I'm saying? I'm broken. I've got nothing, and this is life now. I've lost everything.
What's another interesting aspect of this is there's like a rebellion too, that's
Yeah,
forming within this city in this quarantine kind of zone. I think they're called the Firefly. Is that? I think
yeah,
that's right.
yeah. I think yeah.
Yeah, it's the Firefly like rebellion, and there's like a resistance kind of going on, and there's different outposts and stuff. But I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Oh yeah, no, we're right there. We're right there at it. Because we actually get introduced to Tess. Now her and we know that they have a history together, potentially romantic.
Yeah.
I might be assuming there.
Yeah.
Could do you think that would be the case?
Yeah, I see it kind of as a. You're talking about whenever they go down into the underground and then they pop up on the other side and they find
Yeah.
Bella there.
Yeah. So Tess gets beat up, of
Yeah.
course. And when she gets back to Joel, he's immediately pissed, and like she goes and she lays in the bed with him and hugs up on him.
Yeah, you're talking about the person
saying?
that lives with him. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the military lady or whatever that's part of the resistance. Because that's an interesting scenario too. Because how did he know her whenever they showed up there to try and get back their battery? Like they knew each other, so that's why I was confused. I thought maybe there could have been a connection or a love interest there between that resistance person.
Right, and it's been 20 years, so we don't know what all has transpired within these 20 years. I got a feeling they're going to fill us in on key moments throughout this this season. It's 9 episodes from what I'm seeing, and so and the episodes vary. Like this first one was an hour and 20 minutes. The second one was like 45 minutes. So the episodes actually vary in length. I guess depending on what they're trying to get across to us in that episode. And I think that's actually a very smart move, depending on what you're trying to get in. That way you don't cut anything short. You get everything that you want in a particular episode. So I think that's limiting yourself to a particular time limit is not always the best thing.
But between him and Tess, I feel like that's I'm not so sure if it's
it's just more like business partners.
It kind of seems like they're just kind of like rebels and they're kind of doing their own thing. It's kind of platonic, like they have each other's backs through the whole thing, and they've always had each other's backs. So it's just kind of morphed into like a platonic, I got your back, really.
And they may have sex. And they may have had
possibly.
sex.
I'm sure at some point during the apocalypse, being quarantined in that city.
I mean, who else were you gonna have sex with? You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I mean, you're here, I'm here. I mean, I might as well get some. I mean, what you think? I mean, just let me know.
she's a little older and rugged, but I'm sure he can muster up the courage to get it in with her.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, Bo. At the end of the world, every day's a slow Tuesday. That's all I know. You're talking about the end of the world.
A 4 becomes a 10, baby.
Yeah, it's like, hey, but right now, shit, it's a woman. So, hey, that works. So they're playing. And, of course, we see that Joel is actually he's a smuggler. So he was smuggling pills to the guards, Oxycontin or oxycodone, to the guards. And I guess at the end of the world, you still want to get high. I guess so. I mean, why not? I still need to get to work. So I was like, dang, but ain't much change. But guys, everybody out there who tells me, oh man, the end of the world, or like, oh, let's end the government and all this stuff. I said, okay, end the government, end of the world, but somebody's going to take over, and it'll be a military takeover. That's the way it would be. It'd be folks with guns walking around telling you what to do.
Yep.
That's the way it would be. Like people act like it's going to be some utopia afterwards. It's like, no, now you're going to really see survival of the fittest. The strongest will survive. People with the most connections. That's what the end of the world actually looks like. What you think about the way they had the city set up, and the daily ins and outs of that particular city? Did you like that dynamic there?
I did, because I think that is very realistic. I think that that's exactly what it would look like, and the type of scenario that it would be. It would be like a a dictatorship. Someone would rise to power, some kind of external government forces, but people thinking that well, if we get rid of the people that are in power right now, everything will be better. No, somebody else is just going to rise up and take a spot, and it's 9 times out of 10 going to be 100 times worse than what we already have, right? So I thought that it was a really good, realistic take of like what would happen, because just because there's no government doesn't mean that there's not any jobs, right? Things still need to be done, right? Work still needs to be done. Trash still needs to be taken out. Like roads still need to be worked on. You still got to have all these freaking jobs. Just because there's no government doesn't mean that you don't have to work or do anything. You probably be doing it for nothing. You would have to
exactly.
you have to be doing all that work for free.
Exactly. Or what would they give them, like $1? Like, hey man, that's $2. It's like, oh boy, I killed it today. I got me $2. I mean, you said, but I am rich today, and folks are like, nope. So I mean, so we do see that particular dynamic. Now, the plan seems to be to get a battery so they can actually put it in the vehicle to drive somewhere.
To rescue his friend Tommy. That is, I guess he's a scavenger. He's one of these people that are selected to be able to scavenge, because remember, the everyday people that are in this quarantine zone aren't allowed to leave. They're stuck there. So I'm guessing that Tommy is a designated scavenger that's allowed to leave, and he's at some outpost, and they haven't heard from him on radio transmissions for a really long time, because you've seen Pedro Pascal's character go in and talk to the which was really interesting too. I thought that was kind of weird, because it almost seems like a doctor's office, right, with all those people lined up outside of that door. And I'm like, what is he going to do? Is this like a doctor's office or what? And he's like skipping ahead of the line or whatever. And there's like, people are like, oh, there's a line here. What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. But it's actually the dude on the radio that's giving transmissions to all these people that are in line to hear from their family member, their friend, or wherever that's outside of this quarantine zone. It was really interesting how that worked. Like, because you would imagine, you would think that that's very realistic to happen, right? Because communications would be down. The only thing that you would be able to use is like ham radios and stuff like that. So it would make sense that there would be one designated area where one person kind of controls the radio, and that person reaches out, and then they give that message to one of the family members or the friends that are inside the quarantine zone. So I really, that little detail there was really cool.
Right. Now, at this point of the episode, we actually meet Bella for the first time. She's locked up in the room. They come in there and they ask her to count numbers, and I guess that's how they know if you're turning, because you can no longer count.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I assume. I mean, I guess that's the first stages. If I count to 10, you'd be like, what's 10? You'd be like, yep, go on, put a bullet in them. I mean, they 3-4. They're done. She's cooked. But of course, you don't know initially. Well, of course, if you've watched if you played the game, you knew. But for people, we want to approach this as if you haven't played it. And you don't know anything about it. So you have no idea why Bella's locked in this room. You have maybe a sneaking suspicion that she may be infected, and they are looking and seeing what's going to happen, which that ends up being the case. But one of the things, Marlene, who is the woman who's trying to get Bella out of there and get her to another facility for more studies, she is actually the same voice actor who did Marlene from The Last of Us first video game, and she talked about that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she talked about that, and it's like they use like her character model and everything. So that's kind of that's kind of bringing things full circle. You were in the game, and now you're able to play the part in this particular series, and so I mean, you're going to know the source material, by heart, just about. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely, that's a cool Easter egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So she gives vital importance of what this child means for the world. She's like, we need to get her out of here. You know what I'm saying? We need to get her out of here. We need to get her to this other facility. She is the key to turning this thing around. And so as Pedro and Tess break into that facility, they find all these folks dead. And Marlene and her partner have pretty much killed them. And so their battery, which they were supposed to be getting from the gentleman who had beat up Tess beforehand, I can't remember his name, but he was inconsequential because he kind of died.
the redheaded guy.
Yeah. He was in because I mean he's dead. But at that point in time, they realized that okay, there's no battery, and so Marlene gives them an ultimatum: hey, get Bella to this outpost, and you will get what you need from them. And so that's pretty much how Joel and Tess get a hold of Bella. Of course, the first time that Joel meets Bella, she tries to stab him. Bella's feisty. You know what I'm saying? She's feisty. Obviously, she's been out in the wild. She's went up against some of these zombies before, and she's an orphan. And her and Joel are almost mirror images of themselves or of each other. They became cold over time, and they ain't got no problem taking a life. Okay, I mean that's just the way they seem right there at that moment. But of course, Joel is he's not feeling it. He's like, look, man, I don't want to take no child with me. I just want to get this battery. Okay, I want to get this battery. I want to get out, man. This is going to slow us down. Of course, Tess sees this as an opportunity, and so they make their way out of that facility, and then he meets up with the guard who he actually sold the oxycodone to. And as he's about to shoot Bella because he realizes that she's infected, it almost gives him a flashback to his daughter when she got shot. So I think that's what brings their initial connection together. What you think about that scene?
I love that scene. I thought that scene was badass. And the thing about it, which I don't want to skip over really quick, is whenever they went back to Pedro Pascal and Tessa's place, Bella immediately walks in and opens that book and sees that he is getting radio transmissions from songs, which is telling him if he can leave or if he can if he can go, and it's like all coordinated and he has it all like written down, and she like is on to him like right off the bat.
She tricks him. She tricks him.
I thought that was really interesting. And whenever they leave, the song is, I think it's Should I Stay or Should I Go is the song that's playing whenever they leave, and the radio transmission comes in, and then that was really interesting. But the whole scene with Pedro getting the flashback of his daughter and then him beating the shit out of the guard, I thought that was a fantastic scene. And at that point I was already suspicious that she was infected because she was acting really strange whenever the guard, came up behind her. And he was getting ready to point the detector to see if she had been infected. She was like really squirrely, right? And I was like, yeah, she's probably infected and she's immune, and that's why they have to get her out of that place to have her, try to figure out a cure or whatever for this virus or this disease, this zombie virus. And she takes her knife and stabs the guard as soon as he goes to hit her with the thing, and you barely seen it in that shot that it was red. And then Pedro just beats the shit out of him and basically bashes his face in, and then Tess grabs the detector and like hits her with it, and then she's like yelling at Pedro. She's like, yeah, she's infected, and then like that whole thing happens, and then they're like, oh yeah, we gotta get out of here. And then that's when the episode's over. But that was a fantastic scene. I love that scene, and it really brought a lot of gravity, to the situation, because you're thinking that there's something suspicious about Bella's character during this whole thing. Why do they have her locked up? Why is she chained? Why are they having her do all these tests? And then you figure it out at the very end of the episode, and I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it was a really good scene. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the entire episode. I thought the episode was fantastic. Really good first episode.
And the end of this episode gives you some foreshadowing as they're walking down in the city. If you're not paying attention, you won't notice it, but there's actually what they call a clicker, which is up on one of the rooftops yelling. So they actually got one of the clickers up there. So that gives you foreshadowing of what you're going to have into the actual next episode. So yeah, that wraps up that episode 1. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into episode 2. And in episode 2, it starts with another flashback. And this time we're going to Japan. Yeah. It was Japan, wasn't it?
It was either Japan
was that right?
It was Japan or the Philippines. It might have been the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I know the name of the episode was Infected. Guys, if I got that wrong, let us know. Indonesia. I'm sorry, Indonesia.
No, I was wrong.
It was
too.
Indonesia. Yeah, it
seemed
was
like
Indonesia.
The Philippines, but
yeah. So it was Indonesia, and we had a particular doctor that they scooped up. The military came, and she's like, "What am I getting arrested for?" It's like, "No, you ain't getting arrested. You just need to check something out. Look, if you're like a master of something or a doctor of something, you're the foremost expert, and the military comes swoop you up and say you need to check some shit out. It's usually bad. It's usually bad news, okay?
Yeah.
It's usually bad news." And so this particular doctor, which I don't know if we'll see her later on. We may see her, Ratana or Ratna. I don't know if I said it right. It might be Ratna or it might be Ratana. Have you said that name?
Ratana.
Yeah, there you go. But hey, look, guys. Hey, sometimes we can't get the names right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just all there is to it. But as they swoop her up, they take her and they have her inspect the body. Now they said this was a woman. I was like, that's a woman, but it got a manly face. But I mean, that was neither here nor there. It was a large woman. All right, and they had her inspect the body. She sees that it is, or she has been bitten on the leg. Of course, it's a corpse now with a bullet wound to the head, and she splits it open and sees that it's like a fungal infection. She's like, okay, whatever. This is weird. This is not something we see, because a little bit early on, they have her look at an actual sample of a fungi, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we use human blood with this," and they're like, "Well, it can't grow in humans," and it's like, about that. So they give you the indication. Yeah, they give you the indication this is happening all over the world. Now we're not exactly sure why it's happening all over the world yet, but this is happening everywhere. This is not just restricted just to the United States. This is happening everywhere. And as she checks it, she pulls the fungus out of her mouth, and she is immediately distraught. How'd you feel about this opening scene? Now, of course, they ask her if there's any type of vaccines. Is there a cure? She's like, "Hey, yeah, a cure is called lock the city down and bomb it. That's your cure, because you can't do nothing with fungi." How'd you feel about this initial scene in episode 2?
I really liked it. I thought that it gave a little bit more of a backstory, and I'm in agreement with you, like we were talking about it during the first episode, that they're going to kind of transition between the past and now. I think that they're going to kind of do that in maybe in every episode, right? Because again, they skipped really far ahead. They did a 20-year time gap in between there. So what happened in those 20 years, right? How did this even begin? And I think that they're going to start to slowly answer those questions and have the audience kind of put it together. But I really liked the scene. I thought that it was good. That opening 5-10 minutes was good to give you a little bit more of a background story. And like you said, I thought that it was incredible that she was like, yeah, there's no cure. There's nothing that we can do. There's not going to be a vaccine for this zombie virus. Your best bet is to bomb it, to drop nukes on it.
Because she said, because they told her that 14 of the people were missing. It's like, well, where's the other people? I said, well, they're missing. I said, well, you're screwed. Yeah. If you ain't got them, you're screwed. You just see, let me go be with my family. Okay. She was already reserved to her fate. Let me go be with my family.
Yeah, and the look on the general's face at that time too. The look on the general's face was like, What do you mean?
Holy shit.
What do you mean bomb the country?
Everybody. Yeah, bomb everybody. Lock it down, bomb it.
That's a good time for that Looking Glass Space Command that was put into place in 1961 to arm nukes in space, for them to just hit that command control central button and let all those nukes go off from space. Mm-hmm. So that was really interesting. Yeah.
When she told the man that, this is what you heard. You mean a bomb? You mean? Oh, okay, I got you. Wow. Yeah. But you know what that gives you? That gives you the severity of what's going on,
the gravity of the situation.
So that adds to it. It's just like, hey, look, this is going to end badly for most of humanity. There's no doubt about it. Of course, now after that initial, we go back to Joel, Tess, and Bella as they are making their way through Boston. And, of course, as always during this time, you're going to have to go into some places that you don't want to go into. All right. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, you want to take the long road is always the best one. So they go and they try to go the long road. And what's that, the long road? Probably about 50-11 zombies, okay? And they're 50-11 zombies sitting out there, laying out there on the ground, just crawling around. Now, from what I understand, they've got different sectors of zombies. I believe those that were down there, I think they call them runners, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And the ones with the flowered open face, the fungi face, but they still got their teeth, they call those clickers. Yeah. So that's what I've gathered, actually from the after show where they gave that breakdown. So I think there's a whole lot more of as far as zombie flicks are trying to go into almost this hierarchy of zombies. I know they did that. I don't know if you watched that the movie Army of the Dead with Bautista.
Yes, I did on Netflix.
Yeah. Okay, and so you see they had a hierarchy of zombies within that going. It's just like, okay, so you got the alpha. The alpha can create other alphas, but those alphas, when they bite, then they just make the So it's almost like you got like a hierarchy of zombies. So it'd be kind of interesting because I don't know anything about the series and the zombies you see throughout to see what other type of zombies that we see. Now, of course, during that time, this is what allows you to know that the spores that are connected to the buildings, the fungi that's growing on the buildings, those are in direct connection to the minds of these, not of the clickers, but of the runners. So within that, it makes it even more scary because now you got to watch your step. What do you think about how they form that together and how it's almost like a central nervous system that's spreading out and like you almost can't get away from it?
That is a very interesting concept. I think that has been done before, but in a different kind of way. I think that was kind of done in Stephen King's novel Cell, and they made a movie out of Cell where they're all connected. It's like one giant hive mind, and where one is, another one is, and they're all like psychically connected. They're all like zombies psychically connected. But what I thought was really interesting about that is Tess explaining to Bella that they're always going to be after her because she is also connected to them, and because she's infected. Just because she's not a zombie doesn't mean that she's not infected. So basically, wherever Bella goes, she's going to have to be watching her back because she's also a part, sort of this
of the hive
mind.
Yeah, of the hive mind, and they continue to actually look at her wound. Of course, you see where on her arm where it's like a fungi growth, but it just stops. It's just there. So
another really interesting thing is whenever we cut to that first scene and Bella wakes up and Pedro Pascal and Tester are sitting there like watching her, and Pedro has his gun on her, and he's like, listen, you need to tell us what the deal is with you. Why are you so important? And Bella's basically like, well, I'm, I'm immune. I'm partially infected, blah, 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 blah. And then Pedro's like, we've heard this 100 times before.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it never ends well. The person
Oh,
always ends
and
up
they
infected.
actually, yeah, they actually, on the first episode, they had on the wall how long it would take you to turn, depending on where you were bitten. So, so they had it up there because, I mean, like, if you were bitten, like, on your foot, it might take you 48 hours, to finally turn. So all that stuff, I think it matters how close it is to your head, because I believe that that's what actually the fungi growth actually takes over your mind. So that's what would make more sense. So the further down you get bit, the longer it takes for the fungi to grow and get to your mind to actually take that over. They've heard all that before. You can continue on that.
Yeah, it was just really interesting that he mentions, like, how many times has this happened, and it's interesting thinking about what would be going through Pedro Pascal's head during that time. Like, we've seen this several times before. It never ends well. They always end up, turned into a zombie. So it's like, it's not their first rodeo of maybe even doing this or maybe even hearing about it, right? So why would they waste their time with this kid if they already know that it's probably not going to work out? It was just a cool psychological aspect to look at it from his perspective and what would be running through his head in this scenario. If,
and Joel wants to go back. Yeah, Joel wants to go back. He wants to turn around and go back to the city. Yeah. Tess is the one who actually has faith in what they're doing. Yeah. Because she sees this as as she states later on, all the bad things we've done. And so I'm assuming that they did some pretty horrific things over the last 20 years to stay alive. Which once again is one of those end of the world things. I'm like, how cold do you think you are? How ruthless are you to stay alive? Because you have to be ruthless to stay alive in the end of the world type of event. So Tess is the one that actually convinces Joel to continue on the journey. He wants to go back. He's like, man, there's no battery. We've lost this. We need to go back. We need to regroup. But she's like, no, we need to move on. Now, of course, they can't go the long route because the runners are out there crawling around. And it really doesn't give you an indication on how long these particular beings last, how long they stay alive. I don't know if rain keeps them moisturized and keeps them alive. It seemed like the clickers are not, which I don't know how you become a clicker, but it seems like the clickers are not so much beholden to being in direct contact with the actual fungi itself. They seem to be more derivative on noises and things of that nature. So I think that's a dynamic there that I think they might get into a little bit later on about the lifespan.
Wasn't there a comment in there by Joel whenever I think Bella asked him, how long have you seen one of these? It might have been in reference to something else. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but I remember him saying something like 3 to 4 months or something is how long that he's seen one of them survive. But he could have been referring to how long it takes to get infected. But I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and watch it again and listen to it again. But I remember him saying something about 3 to 4 months.
What he does is that when they're going, like when they have to go into the museum to actually get to where they need to go, he actually knocks into the fungus to make sure that it's actually dead, that it's dried up. So if the fungus is dried up, that gives you the indication that if you step on that, it won't give direct contact, direct information to the runners for them to actually come after you. And when you see them actually laying out there in the street, just like wobbling around, because they seem like kind of harmless. You're like, well, shit, man, just walk around them. I mean, hell, they ain't gonna come get you. But we see later on this episode, it's like when it's time for them to get kicked into action. Hot damn, you know what I'm saying? So it gets wild. So we got our tense moments in this particular episode when they're in the museum
Yeah,
They do meet up with the
take the
two
museum
clickers.
route.
Yeah, they had no choice.
Yeah.
They couldn't go the other way. There
Yeah.
was no other way to go, so they had to go through the museum. And so they actually meet up with two clickers. And look, what transpires here is the single worst display of shooting I have ever seen in my life. But I mean, I'm just like, Bo, what are y'all doing, man? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I was like, man, what are y'all doing? I was like, y'all missing badly. Don't y'all know to shoot them in the head? They shooting them all up in the body. I was like, man, what's going on here? What's really going on? But hey, look, I know the situation is, I mean, it's a tense situation. You know what I'm saying? You don't know where they're coming from. There's two clickers up there. But they end up fending them off. And one thing that Tess says to Bella is like, look, just because you're immune don't mean that you can't be ripped apart.
Yeah.
It's like, so just remember that. Just because you're immune doesn't mean that you can't be ripped apart. And they do seem to still attack her. So even though she has the fungal infection, they don't seem to register that she's like a part of them yet. I don't know if that's going to differ later on or not, potentially, where she may have some type of control. And of course, people who've seen who played the video games be like, oh, y'all know what y'all talking about. Hey, we're going off the premise that nobody's seen it. Okay.
Yeah, there's some,
you know what I'm saying? Everything's on the table.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the premise that I'm taking during the show too. Is not really based off the video game, just what we've seen so far. Mm-hmm. So I really like that scene in the museum because I find that scene actually really realistic. Because other than the shooting, of course, like you mentioned, a horrible shooting, like they're the stormtrooper training from Star Wars, they can't hit shit. But the part that I really liked about it was that they wanted to hide from the clickers before they just went in guns blazing, because that's a very realistic scenario. You don't want to do something that you don't have to do, right? You don't want to just be going in there guns ablazing, shooting everything, right? So their first instinct, which, with them being scavengers and, smugglers and stuff like that, their first instinct was to try and lay low and like hide from them so that they could try and avoid any interaction at all with them. And I found that really realistic, because that's what you would want to do in a real scenario. If you can get around even having contact or even having to fire a shot, you're going to do it, right? You don't want to be fighting these crazy zombies if you don't have to fight them. But what was really interesting was when I was watching it, and after they had defeated the two clickers, they, had killed them, I thought for sure that Tess had gotten bitten, because I had looked at something on my phone, or I had looked down, someone had messaged me or texted me or something, and I thought that Tess was bitten, but it was really Bella that we seen that was rebitten. And she made the comment, well, it's better me than you, because I'm already, infected. But I thought that Tess had already been bitten from that point on, because I guess I heard it wrong and I wasn't watching directly at the screen. So from that point on, I already thought that she had gotten bitten. Right?
Yeah,
so I was already acting like that she had been bitten, and it wasn't revealed until later on that she had been bitten. But I was like, oh,
yeah, because you didn't see that on screen. Yeah, exactly. You didn't see any of that on screen.
But I only heard it, and I thought that she said that she'd gotten bitten, and I was like, oh, okay, well, she's bitten. She's going to be toast. She's just, and I figured that's the way that it was going to play out. But she apparently didn't reveal that she had been bitten, and it wasn't until later in the show where she made the reveal that she'd been bitten. But from that point, I thought, oh, well, she's already bitten. She's toast.
And I bet at that point in time, you were like, man, hold on a second, man. Why they surprised now? You're like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what? Didn't we just already cover this?
I said, why they surprised now? I said, I don't understand why they're surprised. I mean, I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes from there, they defeat the clickers, and they make it to the convoy. Now, the convoy is supposed to be waiting for them to receive Bella and take her to her next destination. But immediately when they go up there, there's nobody there, and there's blood on the ground, which is usually an indication that the shit has hit the fan.
Yep.
And don't you like how a plan always comes together? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how a plan always comes together. So they actually go inside the building to see that everybody's dead.
Yep.
All right. So it looks like one person had became infected, started attacking the others, and everybody got killed. Okay. Now, during this, one of the people began to reanimate, and Joel puts a bullet in his head, and that alerts the runners. And at this point in time, this is when you realize that you don't want to alert the runners.
Yeah.
Because hot damn, I told you one of the scariest zombie movies I've seen was 28 Days Later, and the reason why is because these things are running full speed as hard as they can go. You gonna run out of gas? They ain't.
Yeah.
I mean, they are trucking it, and you like you used to like the old zombie movie. You know, they're moving slow. You just happen to get overwhelmed because there's too many of them. You can't get around them, or you get snuck up on. No, these things are hauling ass. So the minute I seen that, the minute that fungi kind of came up over the guy's finger, and it just like shot the message to him like 2 miles away, and they stood up and they're like, "Oh, it's time to get down." And it's just like, "Oh, hot damn!" And of course, Tess had revealed that she was bitten, and it's almost like Bella sensed it. It's almost like Bella sensed it. So I'm wondering that if she can sense if somebody's been infected. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because she sensed it. She was sitting there like, "Hold on a second, something ain't right with you. You've been bitten." It's like, well, how'd you know? I mean, there's no blood running. She had no indication. So it's almost like she had a sixth sense. So I'm wondering if her being bitten by one of the infected has gave her almost some type of capacity as far as connection with them, but they don't have the same reciprocation on the other side. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't really pick up on that. That's a good catch there. Another thing that's interesting that I found odd was whenever Tess convinces Joel to take Bella and protect her and all that, which she knew that he was. Mm-hmm. Whenever she's standing there with the lighter and she's trying to, because they've poured the gasoline all over the place, and she's standing there with the lighter and she's trying to get the flame lit and all that, and one of the zombies comes up to her and like catches eyes with her from a pretty far distance away. So it kind of made the viewer think that maybe Tess knew this person.
Oh, right? I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that because it came up and kissed her.
Yeah, it did. It was like right up next to her. And why else wouldn't she just try and take out that zombie while she's trying to light the lighter, right? And she had like a shocked look on her face, right? That somehow she recognized this person that was now infected, that was like coming after her, right? It's really the only kind of explanation for why she was so passive towards it, right? Because you can knock it away, hit it, grab a board or something and kill it, or try and do something, punch it in the face or whatever it is to try and get it away from you, to try and take some more time to light your lighter because your lighter's not starting, right? But instead she did the opposite, and she let the infected zombie like get right next to her, and the virus, the stuff was coming out of his mouth, almost getting ready to touch her, and she finally hits the lighter. But I thought that was really interesting. Like somehow she knew this person from before.
That's a good catch right there. I didn't even think about it when initially, because you just had the shock right there of her being bitten, of Joel sitting there like, man, what the hell do I do? Because of course he didn't want to just sit there and shoot her right on the spot. Obviously they've been working together for a while, so they had built a connection there. And this is once again, breaking Joel down even more. He's lost somebody else now that he had built a connection with. And so yeah, I didn't catch it right offhand, but I think you're right there. I think you're right because she just kind of froze up. She froze
Yeah.
up completely, and she didn't seem like the type of person who was freezing up in those situations.
No.
With the way that she had been portrayed in these first two episodes, so that may have been the case. It may have been somebody, it only shows her in two episodes, so we shouldn't be getting any more any flashbacks of her. If I'm correct, it says that she's only in two episodes.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll get any flashbacks of her, but of course she manages to get it lit. She blows up the facility, blows up those runners for the time being. Now it is just Joel and Bella as they go on their journey. Now, from the previews for the next episode that we have seen, it looks like that you're going to be more involved with human on human interaction and violence.
Yes.
In these next few episodes, and if I'm correct, if they go this exact same route, The Last of Us Part 2 is actually more of Bella trying to get revenge on a militia.
Yeah.
So it's more. It's like it's even though you got zombies, it's more of the dynamic of trying to actually survive humans as well, which a lot of zombie movies do take into account. The Walking Dead was big on that.
They went too far with that shit on The Walking Dead, though.
Oh, did they? I never really watched that. But
yeah,
I know. But
it just
I know
became
that
disappointing. It just became about everything. They would only throw the zombies in there whenever it was convenient, right? And then the rest of it was all about,
gotcha.
Fighting humans and other factions and other groups of people. Which that's why I wanted a little bit more time in the when the city was going to shit and while things were like happening.
Oh yeah.
Like, because once you cross that boundary, you get out of the realm of all the zombies and like all of that fear and all that, and then it becomes about other people. Which, if it's done right, which I think that The Last of Us is going to do it right. I don't think that they're going to screw this up. Like, this is going to be a really popular show that's going to, have lots more seasons to it. I think, anyway, personally. They just have to do it right, and I think that they're going to do it right, and I think they're going to keep the contrast between zombies and humans there, and not just focus all of it on humans and not just focus all of it on zombies, because that's where things get screwed up. You need a really good balance there between zombies and survival, and then the balance between groups of humans and fighting and killing other humans, which we've already got. We've actually gotten more fighting between humans and explosions between humans than we have zombies in the show so far. But there still is that zombie element, and as long as they don't lose track of that zombie element, I think that it's going to be great. I think it's going to be perfect.
Well, I think this could actually lend more to allowing them to know where your location is. Especially seeing how they have this central nervous system. And then if you have infighting, you're not paying attention to what you're doing, then all of a sudden you're overran by runners.
Yeah.
Clickers are nearby, things of that nature. So I think, they can end up being a detriment. A lot of times humans are a detriment to themselves. Let's just say that.
Proven over and over and over again.
I mean, humans are a detriment to themselves. Yeah. So, that just is what it is. Sometimes we experiment with shit that we shouldn't. And I got a feeling that we're going to find out that this was some type of experiment. Somebody was experimenting on some shit. Oh, we're going to cure cancer. We're going to cure, lymphoma or diabetes or dementia. And all you get is this, bud. You get the end of the world. That's what you get. That's what you get. So yeah, that's the first two episodes of The Last of Us. This thing comes out every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's late night for people out here on the East Coast. If you go to work, I understand. Check it out on Monday. Okay, that's what I did. that's what I did. This is TVMA. So there's cursing, there's blood. I guess it just depends on what your kids' age are. If you want to watch it with them, a lot of people want to know if the stuff that they can watch it with their kids. Maybe if they're 10, 8, 7. I don't know. I was watching Freddy Krueger at like 6. So
me too. My first horror movie was Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, and I was 7. Scared the shit out of me.
Okay. Yeah. So this is TVMA. It's gonna have cursing. It has brief nudity. I don't think it'll have anything sexual in it. They ain't gonna have no time. They ain't gonna have no time for sex. So I don't think you'll have to be particularly worried about that. But you may have some gruesome scenes. You may have somebody get torn apart. Bella's gonna do plenty of cussing. Okay, she really knows how to do that. She is a cusser. So yeah, you're gonna see plenty of that. But yeah, I think I thought the first 2 episodes were pretty good. Let's give it a drum roll. How many cubes out of 10 for the first 2 episodes?
First 2 episodes, I give 8.5 cubes out of 10.
I'm right there with you on that. 8.5.
Yes,
the
sir.
Actual IMDb ratings on this, 9.2. This is from 41,000 people on episode 1. And on episode 2, it got 9.4. That's from 26,000 people rating on IMDb. So it does have high ratings, and it's for a good reason. That's because it's actually good. So, and that's one of those things. It's hard to find something that's captivating. There's so much stuff out there. And it's kind of diluted the market. Years ago, if it wasn't on like TV, if it wasn't a show put on TV, I mean, you didn't have anything. But now that you've got Netflix, you got HBO making the series, you got Showtime, you got Stars, you got Apple Plus is making shows, Peacock. You just like, it's just like, man, everybody got a show. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
exactly. And I look for. Because I think that I actually really like the weekly release schedule. I don't know about you, but I actually like it when streaming services do the weekly release schedule. Hulu, I think, started that kind of. Well, HBO, of course, did it first because they're an actual cable television or satellite television network company. But Hulu was the first to do it with a streaming service. And I think that is really the way to go because... And I really look for Netflix to copy that at some point. They are going to do that at some point in the future. Don't know when it's going to be. I suspect sometime after the release of Stranger Things Season 5 that they will be starting to do weekly release schedule instead of dropping the entire season all at one time. Now, that's going to piss some people off, right? It's going to make some people mad because Netflix has built up that reputation of binging the entire season, right? But if there's not enough time span, they can only do that with really tentpole shows, right? Like really, really big shows like Stranger Things. And they made Stranger Things season 4 even bigger because they split up the season. They released the first, I think, 6 or 7 episodes in I think July of 2022, and then they released the other 2 episodes in August of 2022, right? And that gave people that span of time to keep talking about it. And that's what you get with weekly release shows. Like you get people talking about it more, but you don't get that really when you drop the entire season like Netflix does, right? You don't get that water cooler talk. You don't get that, oh, did you see that new episode that just got released last night? You know what I mean? You don't really get that. You just get the entire thing all at once. So I really look for Netflix after 2024 into 2025 to take all of their shows and make them on a weekly release schedule. And that will also fill up a lot of the bullshit that Netflix has been doing. They won't be doing as many shows because they'll be releasing them weekly, right? And that'll clear up a lot of the bullshit nonsense that's on Netflix.
Now they have released something recently that would make sense, dropping everything at once with the way they actually formatted it. And I've actually heard some pretty good reviews about it. I was thinking about checking it out, but it's called Kaleidoscape.
Heard that. I don't know about it.
It's pretty much a heist TV series.
Oh, that's the one where you can watch in any order and it all makes sense, right?
Yeah, except you need to watch White last. That's what they didn't tell you. That's the actual heist. You're supposed to watch the episode last. But from what I understand, I think it's jumbled up for people. I think just depending on when you click on it, I think you get a different order than somebody else, if I'm correct.
Oh, really? That's dope.
But but you're supposed to watch White last. That was this whole premise. It's like somebody's like, man, I wish I would have known that because I watched White first. And then it's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? So it would make sense.
They try and do all the experimental stuff with Netflix, and that never really seems to go. Remember that Black Mirror movie that you're supposed to be able to pick what the character does next, or that completely ruined Black Mirror. I don't think they did another season of Black Mirror after that movie dropped. He completely ruined the whole thing. They were.
He actually came out and said he stopped Black Mirror because of what was happening in 2020.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, I'm not making any more of these. We're too close to the source material. You know what I'm saying? He's like, boy, yeah. Okay, guys, I'm hanging up my stuff. I will catch y'all. And I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? That's what you tell the folks. So yeah, that's The Last of Us, episode 1 and 2. We got to send Tess out on a sad note. She has left us. R.I.P. R.I.P. Tess has left us. So it looks like it's just going to be Joel and Bella. Of course, I think we're going to have some other characters along the way that we can maybe attach to. We're still going to see what the dynamic is between Joel and his brother. I think there's going to be some tension there. So we're going to see how that plays out later on this season. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of these episodes. Remember, guys, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. And then we plan on bringing you these episodes. We plan on releasing them on Wednesdays. Record Tuesday night, release them on Wednesday. That way you can get our 2 cents. So we appreciate everybody for checking us out. Ryder, you got anything else for the people out there?
Just check it out. It's going to be a really big show, and it's worth tuning into every week to watch it and talk about it. I think that it's shaping up to be a really huge show, and I'm excited to see where they go with it and how they juggle this dynamic between humans and zombies. Thanks so much for having me on XCube. Look forward to doing more shows with you, more trailer reviews, and covering this show each week. Thank you.
Oh yeah. We definitely appreciate you. What they say, breath of fresh air. Everybody likes a breath of fresh air. So yeah, guys, and also remember, guys, as far as these episodes go, they're not a particular length. So if you're just looking at the first one's an hour and 20 minutes. The second one's 45 minutes. So it's just like it looks like it's going to be random time as far as how what the runtime is on these particular episodes, depending on the message that they're trying to get across. So just keep that in mind. You might not get a full 60 minutes. Oh, the hell, they might do a 30-minute episode. I mean, I don't know. They might do a 30-minute episode, just depending on what they're trying to get across. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You need about 2 hours to watch the first 2 episodes. So I see probably why they cut back the second episode, seeing how they gave you a little bit more lengthy one on the first one. So yeah, just keep that in mind as you're watching this. But yeah, we will catch y'all next week on Showtime with the Cube, boy SQ420, and my new co-host on this particular one, not the powerful Corey Hughes, but our resident movie aficionado, Mr. Ryder Lee. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace out.